You know, normally I don't wear Broncos stuff, Tom, but I just don't GAF because the Broncos are close, man. Something magical is happening. So I say, it's the holiday season. We're just getting into the stream. We're starting to, welcome people into Wednesday night. Why not be excited about your Denver Broncos? Not only are they relevant, but they are on the verge of a postseason NFL playoff berth. That can happen tomorrow night. Thomas Hall, how are we doing?
It's great. Like I said on Twitter a little while ago when I reposted our show, it's so much more fun to talk Broncos when they're winning and they're on a verge of a playoff berth for the first time in a decade almost. It's just, I mean, how can you not be happy? I mean, only the people that want them to tank for a better draft spot, I guess, aren't happy.
Yeah, well, and those people, man, you can never make everybody happy, right? But we strive to make Broncos country happy, and we try to bring the latest, and that's what we're going to be bringing on this show. What's up, everybody? It is Wednesday night. He's Thomas Hall. I'm Luke Patterson. We are MHI. Scott Kennedy on the ones and twos. And Tom, here we sit on Wednesday, December 18th, about a week from Christmas, and something tells me Christmas could come early for Broncos country, specifically the Denver Broncos tomorrow night, as they are third primetime game this year on the road. SoFi, Chargers, Broncos. The stakes couldn't be higher. How are we feeling? Just a week out from Christmas, 24 hours away from kickoff on Thursday Night Football.
Win and they're in. That's all it takes. They win one game and they're in. And I actually think it's going to happen on Thursday night. I mean, I know that they lost to them in Mile High. That was quite a while ago, and it's kind of a different team at this point. And I know Bo Nix isn't playing as good as he was there for a while, kind of regressed a little bit. But for some reason, this team just has a winning philosophy. That even if it takes a little luck, they end up winning over these last few weeks. And once they get that rolling, it's kind of hard to knock them off the track. You're on mute.
I think we're seeing some fortune. I think we're seeing some luck. That happens not only in life, but in professional sports as we know it. But I think what you're seeing is the result of a culture change and a culture shift. Tom, you've been on this for pretty much the whole season. The Broncos have learned how to win games, and they've had multiple gut punch moments. I was there last Sunday night with my bride here in the Mile High City, and there were multiple points in that game where the Broncos could have just kicked the can down the road and said, oh, well, let's see what happens. They didn't do that. And Bo Nix didn't have a particularly solid outing by any means, but number 10 never quit. And that's something that we haven't seen with the Broncos team since 2015, a team that's not willing to go quietly into the night, right? You got me all fired up for Independence Day now. So we're a week away from Christmas. I'm giving the Independence Day speech. It's exciting, man. It's exciting time for Broncos country. The NFL playoffs are within reach. It's on the Broncos to make it happen. And David Yonkin coming in. What is up, David? Happy holidays to you and yours. A very generous $4.99 super over on YouTube. Good evening. So Riley Moss is out. Nothing new there. And a running back out? That really doesn't hurt us, considering the Broncos haven't been able to run the ball all season, but they're still 9-5. David, we are going to get into that Broncos injury report. It's a big one, right? Thursday Night Football, short week, a short turnaround for both teams, the Broncos and the Chargers. And by the way, who saw the Tampa Bay Bucks beating up on the Chargers, Tom? I know everyone in Broncos country at Empower Field at Mile High were looking at their phones, myself included, trying to figure out what Baker was going to do to Justin Herbert and the Chargers. Definitely a victory that we'll take. But yes, let's just jump right into it, because David is kicking us off here with the injury report. We're going to rehash it a little later in the show. Pat Surtain, he's a full go. All right. Now, there was a collective gasp at the stadium last week, Tom, when Pat Surtain went down with an ankle injury. Turns out it's just a minor sprain. We think PS2 is going to be good to go. However, Riley Moss is officially out. And surprise, surprise, running back Jaleel McLaughlin with a hamstring, I believe. He is listed as out on the injury report today. What do you make of the injury news?
Well, it's not a huge surprise. I'm a bit surprised about Jaleel. I thought that something must have he must have regressed a little bit in practice or something. So that was a bit of a surprise, but everything else wasn't. I mean, the first day out there, Pat Surtain's out there, so he seemed like he was good to go. Moss needs hopefully only another week before he's back. But you know what? This is what I've been saying for quite a while. The injury report is not bad at all. There's not a ton of people on injured reserve. You look over at the Lions, I think that's the reason why they're not going to be in the Super Bowl, is because they have so many people on injured reserve. The Broncos are sitting here with only a couple, and their injury report looking good. They can make some noise. Now, talking about running backs, the thing that's going to hurt them is they can't run the ball.
Can't run the ball. One of my keys to victory, it's that old saying, right? Stay with who brought you to the dance, right? That sort of thing. And Bo Nix has been the only guy that's been the effective runner. One of my keys to victory, go check it out. Bo Nix and the Broncos run game over at milehighhuddle.com. And David, here's some good news for you, though. I saw Riley Moss out there last Sunday before pregame, and he was warming up. He was jogging. He was doing some light backpedaling. Very encouraging news. Now, I think some people in Broncos country are like, man, is he going to suit up? Is he going to play this game against the Colts? And we all knew he was out. But I like the fact that they're taking their time with Riley Moss. Chris Abrams drain, man, what an absolute game from that rookie, a stud defender. Damari Mathis, a combination effort. Absolutely love to see the adjustment from Vance Joseph and Sean Payton. I'd be surprised if Riley Moss is out for a considerable amount of time. What does that mean? He's already been out since week 12, right? I think he's coming back for Saturday night against the Bengals. The Broncos are going to get a little bit of a mini bye after this Thursday night game. They're going to get some more time to heal, if you will, and you'll see Riley Moss hopefully back in the action. But Jaleel McLaughlin, that surprised me, Tom, if I'm being honest. I can't stand the way that this run game is going. I don't like the way that they utilize Jaleel. And this is what happens when you take a 5'8", 185-pound running back and run in between the tackles. He's going to get beat up. Now, he was limping a little bit after the game. I noticed that last Sunday at the stadium. But who do you think is going to be the primary or the starting running back in this one? I guess my thought would be Javonte Williams because he's the senior back. I wish it wasn't. I would go Audric Estime. What say you?
I'd go Audric Estime as well. But what they really need to do is they need to get, it's not Williams just needs to not carry the ball as much, but whoever they do have carrying the ball, they need to hit the tackle edge area against the Chargers. That's what they need to do. And I know that's kind of counterintuitive. They got Khalil Mack, they've got Joey Bosa on those edge, but they've been weak around that part of the field when you start running at them. So instead of trying to run straight down the middle of that defensive line, get him on the edge, which I was hoping McLaughlin would be around to do. But you might see them call it Blake Watson, and you might see him hitting those kind of edge shots with hopefully some surprise carries from Marvin Mims.
Boom, Tom, you're on to something. As our friend Mike Kliss liked to note over on X, do not be surprised if Blake Watson gets elevated from the practice squad tomorrow. So the Broncos could carry, what would that be, 3 running backs at least, get the fullback Michael Burton in there. Props to Michael Burton, by the way, on that tutty. Absolutely loved it. And David coming in, man, really, really appreciate it. 2 Davids. We'll get David Yonkin in here real quick. I don't see our running back on the roster this season, just my opinion. Yeah, just following up on that. I'm the same way, David. I wrote about it in one of my keys. It's going to be addressed. It's going to be addressed in free agency and the draft. But I think there are multiple hands to be blamed, if you will, in this one. Sean Payton, some of the play calling, I think that's what you were hearing in some of the boos on TV, Tom. And I saw our guy, DVA, wrote up an article on it, and Cortland Sutton was saying, it's disheartening to see him booing Bo Nix. Well, I don't think I was in the crowd. I don't think the crowd was booing Bo Nix. I think the crowd was really upset with some of the offensive play calling there, David. So I expect Sean Payton to be better. I don't know when that's going to happen. I think it's ultimately going to be a personnel thing as well. And David Papa Bear being very patient. Thank you for the very generous 5 over on YouTube. Merry Christmas, Broncos country. Luke, Tom, and Deacon Scott. Really hope you're feeling better, Luke. Hashtag 10 and 7. Thank you, David. I appreciate it, man. Nothing's going to stop me from attending MHI. I assure you. Even as I sit here sweating in my Broncos beanie right now, dude. It's an exciting time to be a member of Broncos country, and who would have thought that this is exactly where we would be sitting on Wednesday, December 18th, Tom. I mean, Sean Payton's already done better. This Broncos squad has already done better than they did last season. A lot of expectations, a lot of pressure on Thursday Night Football.
Yeah, the pressure's there, and that's the thing that I've been talking about with this team is they've answered the bell when the pressure's been on. You know, they've turned around an 0-2 season. They turned it around when they had a couple big losses there, and they've won these must-win games to get them in prime position to get into the playoffs. So they can handle the pressure, even though they're a young team, because this young team doesn't know anything about the losing streak, right? That's all in the past. They're young, hungry, and they want to go out there and win. And that game on Sunday, I think a year ago, 2 years ago, they would have lost that game. But
Jonathan Taylor, what a dope, huh? I mean, like, what an absolute dope. I couldn't believe I was actually in the building to see that happen. I mean, dropping the football before you entered the end zone. I've only seen it. I've heard about it on the old game films, the old tapes, and the Dallas Cowboy come to mind instantly with that one. But Phil McLaughlin, man, appreciate all the support over on Facebook. Merry Christmas to you and yours. Happy holidays, Phil. Good evening, Thomas, Luke, and Deacon Scott. Are we saving Tyler Bidet for the playoffs? I'm not going to say that the Broncos are saving Bidet, Phil, as much as we would like to in the media and the fan base. We want to build any sort of running back up that could be the savior for this Broncos squad in 2024. Honestly think that Audric Estime might be the guy here in the next few weeks. He's going to get a chance, and I think it's going to be a competition between Javonte and Audric Estime to see who Sean Payton can trust when it comes down to playoff football. Tom, what do you think?
Yeah, I just think Bidet, they don't want to bring him back out after that kind of scary injury. I just don't, unless it's a must, like they have got decimated and they're like, okay, we need you to come back. They'll bring him back. But I think if they were going to, they would have done it already. I don't think they're going to. So I think it's Estime is going to be your back, hopefully, unless for some odd reason Javonte Williams catches fire and starts playing better, which pretty doubtful at this point.
Well, and guys, look, we like Tyler Bidet because he's an underdog. A lot of these young underdog Broncos nobody saw coming. And speaking of Underdog, guys, Underdog is the place to play if you're a sports fan looking to win money while watching sports. Join over 5 million fans who are already playing on Underdog. With their pick'em game, you could win money by making entries with your favorite players. Compete against other players just by selecting higher or lower on 2 or more player stats, and you could win up to 1,000 times your money. Turn every touchdown into a win with Underdog.
With their champs game, you could win up to 1,000 times your money just by choosing higher or lower on player stats like passing yards, interceptions, touchdowns, and much more. Like, for example, will Bo Nix have a higher or lower than 220.5 passing yards this week? Every dog deserves a second chance, and with Underdog Rescues, you can get your money back and receive a promo if an early injury causes your entry to lose.
Boom, guys. Download the Underdog app today. Use code MHuddle to get up to $1,000 in bonus cash instantly. Again, download the Underdog app today. Use our code MHuddle to get up to $1,000 in bonus cash instantly. Every player, every touchdown, just select higher or lower on Underdog.
Must be 18 plus, 19 plus Alabama, Nebraska, 19 plus in Colorado for some games, 21 plus Massachusetts and Arizona, and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply, void in Colorado. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.org. Arizona, 1-800-NEXT-STEP or text next-step to 53342. New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY.
Boom. It is Wednesday night. It's MHI. He is Thomas Hall. I am Luke Patterson. Scott Kennedy rocking with us as always as we get you ready for Thursday night football. And it's not just any primetime game. It's a primetime game in which the Broncos can officially clinch a playoff berth in the AFC. They are the number 6 seed as it sits. Chargers number 7. They flopped seats, if you will, last Sunday with the Broncos win over Indy and the Chargers loss against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Broncos country, want to hear from you. How are we feeling about the game on Thursday night? What are you doing during this holiday season? Because I can tell you here in the Mile High City, Tom, people are getting excited, really excited. You know how the Broncos, when the Broncos are back, when your kids' school days are revolving around Bronco days, meaning kids are being encouraged, wear your Santa hats and your Bronco gear all over Broncos country tomorrow. We're going to be doing that here in Denver, Colorado. I want to see those pictures over on X from everywhere because, as we say here at MHH, Broncos country is not a geographical location. It truly is a state of being. And Mike Est calling his shot. Broncos are going to win 30-24. Speaking of predictions, guys, you can head on over to milehighhuddle.com, check out our roundtable. I guess I'll give Tom and Scott their flowers. They're sitting atop the leaderboard. I think Scott's got 2 or 1 losses. Tom's got 2 or 3. Your boy's sitting down a little bit, but I'm climbing up the ranks. It's exciting, man. And listen, the Broncos get in the playoffs officially with a win or a tie against the Chargers tomorrow. Zach Kelberman has another article up talking about some other scenarios should the Broncos lose. A Miami Dolphins loss or tie, a Cincinnati loss or tie, or an Indianapolis Colts loss or tie officially punch the Broncos tickets into the AFC playoff race.
Yeah, and it's not, it's exciting right now because they're winning. It's a playoff race. I mean, they're definitely one game out, and that's it. One game to win, and they're in. So I'm pretty much saying it's almost 100% certainty that they're getting in. Plus, on top of it, you got 2 players who are in the running for Defensive Player of the Year. You got the Offensive Rookie of the Year contender. I mean, you've got so much going on that is exciting about this team. It's not just, hey, they finally had a winning season. It's everything all combined. And I think the players are really embracing it and feeling like everything is great. So we're going to go out there and play better, and we're going to win. It's a mindset they have that they haven't had in so long. It just makes the fans feel it even more, I think.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. And listen, though, this Chargers team is no slouch either. They were 5-12 last year, and all of a sudden they're a playoff team under Jim Harbaugh and Justin Herbert. I mean, I wanted to get to Mr. Zuniga here because he's saying, look, man, I'm going to be at the game. Let's go. Broncos country is going to show out. In years past, Tom, it's always been kind of another home game for the Broncos, playing then San Diego and now in LA at SoFi Stadium. How much orange is going to be there tomorrow night, Tom? Are you expecting more of a home atmosphere for the Denver Broncos? Because I got to be honest, I think whatever the hell they call themselves out there, it's not Chargers country, right? Is it Bolt Nation? I don't know what the hell they call themselves, but I think they're excited for the potential to dash the Broncos' dreams, if you will, on Christmas or a week before. I don't know. I don't know if it's going to be a primarily orange stadium or if that damn yellow and powder blue is going to be out there.
I think the Chargers are going to have to go to a silent count at times.
Wow.
I think the Broncos are going to be showing up.
Interesting.
The Broncos were showing up down there when they weren't any good. Now they're good. Now you're going to see Broncos fans showing up.
Roy Osborne coming in here to dash some rain on our parade. He's going to be smoking some tomahawks. I'm all about that, man, with all the fixins. But he sees a nasty prediction for this one. 21-17 Chargers. Sorry, guys. Roy, you're not alone. I think Lance Sanderson over at milehighhuddle.com was the only other staff writer that I saw pick the Chargers to win this one. I think if memory serves, he said something doesn't feel right about this one. Well, when's the last time anything really felt right about the Broncos offense? They've been able to, right? I mean, they've been able to get by. They've been able to do some things. They've been able to win. But the strength of this team is through the defense, Tom, and Nick Bonito, man. What else can you say about Nick Bonito? He's one of my keys over at milehighhuddle.com right now. You're going to see Nick at night. Remember that? Nickelodeon at night? Well, you're going to see Nick Bonito at night tomorrow at Thursday Night Football, and you have to hope that he's going to punish Justin Herbert. The third-year pass rusher from Oklahoma, man, he's absolutely emerged as a rising defensive player of the year, becoming the first defender since J.J. Watt in 2014 to record double-digit sacks and 2 touchdowns in the same season. Tom, the stadium, as you can imagine, went absolutely nuts with that trick play last week, right? That he just, I still call it a pick six, even though I'm wrong, right? It looked like a pick six to me, but 2 defensive touchdowns against the Cleveland Browns, and then last week against the Indianapolis Colts. Nick Bonitto's peaking at the very right time, and I have to give credit to one of our friends and one of our followers over on X. He had posted a really interesting social media thing saying Nick Bonitto will be the NFL. This is Bill Cody, one of our friends. Nick Bonitto will be the NFL sack leader before Amazon delivers your last Christmas gift. And Nick Bonitto is currently sitting tied third with some guy named TJ Watt, 11.5 sacks. Who saw that coming, Tom?
Well, I kind of did. I've been talking about Nick Bonitto being able to take that step. I was worried that he wouldn't. I was worried about the edge rusher group altogether. But I said if Nick Bonitto can take that next step and be more of an elite pass rusher, which he did, that edge group would really kind of round out and be pretty solid. And so, but for the most part, I didn't predict him to be the sack leader by any means.
No, and he's not alone. Jonathan Cooper's sitting at 8, right? He's 2 away from getting double digits. And then you've got John Franklin Myers, Zach Allen, and rookie Jonah Ellis, all with at least 5 sacks in their own right. Again, you can read all about it. One of my keys to victory over milehighhuddle.com. And Nathan weighing in here on YouTube saying, look, guys, I was at the Monday night game a couple years back. It was 90% orange in the crowd, even echoing the incomplete chance. Man, we need some Mile High magic in California because Justin Herbert's no slouch. I know he's on the injury report with an ankle this week, and if memory serves, he was on the injury report when they played back in week 4 or 5 with an ankle injury. He's actually on pace to be sacked the most he's ever been sacked in his NFL career right now. This is a Chargers offensive line that is very, very vulnerable. And it's just interesting when you look at the matchup because you got to think that Nick Bonitto and Jonathan Cooper are just licking their chops. But you have to also wonder what kind of turnovers can we expect from this Broncos defense against Justin Herbert?
Well, I hope it's a strip sack or 2. It would be nice. You know, they need to get to Herbert. They need to, like you said, Nick Bonitto needs to punish him, especially coming off an injury. He needs, they can get him in the dirt. It's going to make him feel a little bit more pressure out there to go out there and perform on a hurt ankle, and that usually will lead to Justin Herbert throwing an interception. So I'm hoping they can get after him.
They have to get after him. Justin Herbert's a damn good player. He's a damn good quarterback, and he's got a really talented rookie wide receiver that I didn't see coming. And, I'm not the biggest college football guy in the world until it comes to the scouting realm, but this Chargers wide receiver, Ladd McConkey, is no joke, Tom. I really like watching this guy play. I hate to say it. 2nd-round pick out of Georgia. I wrote about him over at milehighhuddle.com. He's one of Justin Herbert's favorite receivers. I mean, he currently leads the Chargers wide receivers in nearly every statistical category, including targets, receptions, yards, and first downs. That's just in 13 games, and he's a rookie. Now, he's not like a Justin Jefferson or a big body Stephon Diggs or anything like that. But he's a sneaky 6 foot, 185-pound playmaker. And he had a quiet game against the Broncos here in Denver when the Chargers did pick up that dub. But we know PS2 doesn't really like to travel with receivers, or at least that's what Vance Joseph's defense has him with. I don't want to say PS2 doesn't like to do anything because I think the guy can do about anything defensively on the field. Who's going to guard Ladd McConkey, Tom? Because this is a sneaky good kind of slot receiver, and he's not to be outdone by his teammate. Was it Quentin Johnson, I believe? Another really good player for the Chargers as well that's been coming on in recent weeks. Definitely 2 guys that Vance Joseph needs to be game planning for. Yeah,
I mean, you would hope that you put your best player on their best receiver, but, the way it goes with Vance Joseph, it's not always that way. But I think the rest of them are up to the task. I mean, I'm loving what McMillan has been putting out on the field, man. And if he's lined up in the slot with him, I feel pretty confident. So, it would be nice to see to see Surtain be the Champ Bailey moving everywhere, always after their best receiver, but it's just not. It just doesn't happen consistently.
No, it's a different era, and I guess I wish we could get a reason for that, right? Like, I wish somebody would just straight up ask why. Why doesn't PS2 just lock down and cover the number one? But Paul weighing in here, lads banged up. Harbaugh messes with injury reports more than Bill Belichick did. Yeah, at this point in the season, most guys are banged up, right? So if we're talking about a banged up Lad McConkey, I'm sure what are the Chargers podcast saying right now? Pastor Tan's banged up, his ankle, right? His ankle. And then you're worried about Riley Moss and I don't even know if they're game planning for Chris Abrams' drain, right? I mean, you've seen him in 1.5 games, really? You have to think if you're Justin Herbert and you see Chris Abrams' drain lined up against a receiver, you're probably going to attack that. I have been pretty happy with Brandon Jones' play this year, Tom. I think this is a player that we don't talk enough about. I've written a few articles about him over the season at milehighhuddle.com, but he's been an unsung hero in that defensive secondary. Talk to me a little bit about what you like about Brandon Jones, because I'll be honest, he was like another guy like Jonathan Franklin Myers, who I thought was really underwhelming when the Broncos brought him in. Turns out he's exactly what the Broncos needed post Kareem Jackson, Justin Simmons era.
Yeah, well, that's just it. I mean, he's a surprise because not very many people thought he was going to be this good. But what makes him really good is a playmaker, right? I mean, you see him out there making impact plays. Now, not every single game, but when they need it, it seems like he's coming up with something. He's a good tackler, he's pretty good in coverage. So he's got an all-around game, but it's that extra oomph of that playmaking ability where he's busting a ball loose, jarring it loose or intercepted or whatever. I mean, it's just that extra little bit of playmaking ability that he has that really gets me going on it.
Paul weighing in here. The Chargers are cold and the Broncos are hot, right? And the Broncos, are on a 4-game winning streak. They're 2-0 in primetime games this year. The Chargers are coming off of a brutal loss to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I'm trying to find the score here real quick. I wrote about my article. 40-17 was the official stat that Baker absolutely torched the Chargers defense. And if we remember, the Chargers did win the first meeting against the Broncos in week 6, 23-16. Now, remember, that was the game that Pat Surtain exited early with that concussion, went into concussion protocol. The rest was kind of history, but a close game. And now that you get a defense that seems to be peaking at the right time, I'm really excited to see what they can do, especially on a short week. Now, I'm nervous. I don't think this is going to be easy. It wasn't easy against the Colts last week. A very, very ugly game, and we talked about it here on this show. We thought it would be closer than the paper Tigers suggested, at least. I don't know what the spread is. I don't know what it's looking like. I think it could literally be a coin flip between these two teams. I think they're very similar in a lot of ways. One area of strength that I think the Broncos have over the Chargers, Sean Payton's been with this team for 2 years. He's had a nucleus of players just a little bit longer than Harbaugh has. However, you look at Justin Herbert, who is no rookie either in this NFL. Definitely an advantage there, but should be another thrilling game for the Oregon faithful, right? As the two former Ducks battle it out at QB once more.
Yeah, well, the Broncos, I think, have a better special teams unit. And I think, if the offense can just do enough to pull their weight, and the defense and special teams can keep playing the way they're playing, I think that gives them the edge, right? The offense is going to have to play pretty bad to, take that edge away from what the special teams and defense gives the team. So, and that can happen, unfortunately. You got a rookie quarterback, you got no running game. That definitely can happen. But if they can do just enough while the defense and special teams continue to play the way they've been playing, that's where they get the edge.
Yeah, cornerback Riley Moss officially ruled out today on the injury report. And Jaleel McLaughlin, running back, ruled out with a quadricep as well. Both guys did not practice. Surprise, surprise. DJ Jones, he did not practice. Let's see, Monday, but he was limited Tuesday and Wednesday. He's got a finger injury. I saw that injury happen. He came right back into the game. O lineman, D lineman, they have broken, nasty, ugly fingers. You'll see it. Just go ahead and shake their hand. And then Jonathan Franklin Myers, man, he's he was full today, which was good because he had a foot injury. He didn't practice Monday or Tuesday. Happy to see Big Cat back at it, man. The D-line and the O-line have truly been a silver lining of this team so far, but I got to be honest, Tom, there's one specific lineman I can't get behind. The center position, Luke Wattenberg, man. I'm having a lot of trouble with Luke Wattenberg. I'm not saying that Alex Forsyth is an upgrade by any means. I'm not even calling for Luke Wattenberg to be benched. I just don't know. Surely Luke Wattenberg's not the reason that the running game doesn't work, right? It can't just be on one guy. I put a lot of it on Sean Payton, if I'm going to be honest, because it feels like at times, Tom, Sean's trying to be the smartest guy in the room. He's too busy worried about setting up for 2 series down the road instead of looking at the plays in front of him. And when he gets back to basics, I think the Broncos offense does particularly well. Now, I'm calling for some more quarterback design runs. Can we do that? I'm not saying it's my preference. I'm not saying it's what I want the Broncos to live and die by the next month should they get into the playoffs. But for crying out loud, Bo Nix has showed that he can protect himself. He slides, he hugs the sideline. And while he's taking steps in the right direction to become a positive pocket passer, he is still a rookie quarterback. And I think it would be foolish to just limit him to being a bootleg quarterback or a pocket passer.
Well, they've got to do something to get a running game going, but you don't want your quarterback to be the leading rusher. You just don't. And they've got to figure out how to get that running game going. It may be Sean Payton, not calling correctly. I don't know. I don't know what the solution is for sure. But if they can somehow, which I doubt they will, because here we are, week 15, and they still haven't figured it out. If they can somehow figure out over these next 3 games how to get that running game moving, they are going to go in and surprise people in the playoffs. If they can't, well, I don't know. I mean, I think it's going to be a pretty tough haul to get very deep in the playoffs with non-existent running game.
Polar Knights weighing in over on Twitch. I absolutely love this. I had to grab it. I love this show. I get so many ideas for how to dress when I need to blend in at the Daytona 500. Man, that's good stuff right there. Almost got me cursing, Polar Knights. I love it, man. Well, you know what? You would be shocked to know that Tom and I are both husbands and fathers as well. So, a couple of old men just rapping football. It's what we do here on MHI every Wednesday night. And look at this no way coming in here. The Broncos are going to lose 3 straight games starting tomorrow. Man. Oh, the bad juju, the voodoo curse is coming on the Broncos from no way. Here's the thing. Here's where I push back against that. And obviously, they're going to be playing the Cincinnati Bengals on Saturday night. Tom, did you see Sean Payton spill that tea before the NFL did? I absolutely loved it. Sean has no friends over there in the league offices, and I don't think he really cares what they think about him. So when he came out on, Monday morning, and he's like, yeah, we're going to be playing the Cincinnati Bengals on Saturday night. Don't think that's out yet, but just so you know, I absolutely loved it, man. I was all over. I'm like, Sean, you are a dog.
Yeah, that's kind of funny. I would be very surprised to see the Broncos not win at least 1, probably 2 games to close out the season. Number 1, you're probably going to have a Kansas City Chiefs team that's resting their starters for the most of the part. Broncos play them pretty tough. So you've got that, and then you've got you've got a team that's going out there and answering the bell. The last few weeks they went out there and done it. The pressure's been on, and they went out and answered the bell. So I just don't see it happening. I think it's at least 2 more wins. For the rest of the season.
Well, and here's the thing: we're talking about the Broncos learning how to win, and so let's literally put some proof in that pudding. Marvin Mims. How about this guy? AFC Special Teams Player of the Week.
Yep.
Right when we're all ready to write him off, Marvin tends to climb out of that hole, man. And maybe it's a utilization issue. Maybe it's personnel with Sean. Again, the smartest play caller in the room, just ask him. Sean has some explaining to do. But really, really excited for Broncos punt returner, kick returner, wide receiver. Marvin Mims aimed AFC Special Teams Player of the Week for his performance against the Colts. He had 3 punt returns for 97 yards, including a 61-yarder that set up the go-ahead touchdown in the 31-13 win. Yep. Mims has an NFL best 15.7 yards for a punt return average on a minimum of 10 returns. Those are the type of the plays that the Broncos need, Tom, especially when Bo Nix is having an off day, when the receivers aren't running the right routes. And man, I saw Sean getting after some receivers. It's really interesting when you actually, are at the game and you get to watch some of the things that the TV and the broadcast won't show you. When both, for every interception that Bo threw, not once did Sean go over to Bo to get after him. He lets quarterback coach, right? He lets Davis do his thing, but Sean is sure to go after the wide receivers any chance he can get. Now, I'm not saying that Sean is having favoritism for his precious little rookie quarterback in Bo Nix. I'm saying I think that's an interesting dynamic, and it's something that really makes me curious because I don't think Sean would give up play calling over his dead body. Right? He's the play caller as long as he is the head coach. But it's just interesting to see the way he maneuvers this offense. And when you have young rising receivers like a Marvin Mims, who I would like to get involved more on the offense, and you said it earlier in the show, with Jaleel McLaughlin out, maybe Marvin Mims gets some more carries. But I got to be honest, Tom, I was screaming with my wife in the stands. What are they doing? Can we please get a player that's 6 foot tall, at least 200 pounds the ball? Because playoff football in cold weather, like, I don't know, Kansas City and Buffalo, where's the beef? You're going to need that beef if you're going to contend.
Yeah, for sure. It is interesting. And I just want to go back to, I don't know who he was yelling at, which receivers, but it's funny. I mean, I can understand why you're not yelling at your quarterback because he's a rookie, he's going to make mistakes. But if he's yelling at experienced receivers, then they deserve it. They should know better, if it's Vela or it's Franklin.
Cortland.
Okay.
Oh, and Cortland too. He loves to get after Cortland, man. And you know what? Like that's just it too, right? I mean, it's delicate and we're having fun with it, kind of a tongue-in-cheek moment, right? But fans were upset. I mean, 3 picks is 3 picks. And for anybody who has Bo Nix on the fantasy team, really don't care. I mean, it's about the winning results. And Tom, I ask you, I love to ask fans this, I love to ask my friends this. Do ugly wins bother you?
Sometimes, yeah. I mean,
sometimes
I like it.
On you, Thomas. How dare you? I set you up like that. They sometimes, for me, never. They never matter because all that matters is the dub.
I love wins no matter how they come. But the problem is ugly wins, ones that you see that there's a deficiency, but they still win. And you know that the deficiency is going to come back to haunt them at some point. That's when it worries me, right? So like a lack of a running game. They win ugly, but they couldn't get a running game going. That might come back to haunt them. So that's why I say sometimes, but hey, I'll take a win anytime.
And that's where Phil's at with it. He's like, look, guys, appreciate you, Phil. Thank you so much for all the support over on Facebook. He's like, look, the Chargers are favored by 2.5 right now. Let's pray that the Broncos start faster than they did against the Colts. 14 games without a running game, and it's got to start sometime. Yeah, and I wrote about it, guys, over milehighhuddle.com. I mean, it's dance with the one who brought you, and Bo Nix is the Broncos running game right now, and it's not the way I would draw it up. It's not something that I want. I don't want our quarterback taking unnecessary hits or anything like that, but for crying out loud, the Broncos continue to boast the NFL's longest active streak, 31 games, Thomas Hall, in which a running back has failed to eclipse 100 yards. These are the Denver freaking Broncos we're talking about here, man. I'm old enough to remember when Mike Shanahan could pull guys out of the mall selling cell phones and turn them into a 1,000-yard rusher. It's something Sean Payton's struggling with here in Denver.
Yeah. Well, it was a totally different philosophy because it was all predicated on the running game back then. And now Sean Payton, I don't think he cares that much. So he likes his passing game. But yeah, it would be nice to break that streak. It would be great if they break that streak on Thursday night. They're winning the game, no problem.
Oh, man. Well, and so I had somebody correct me, too. I don't know. I completely forgot about it just because I was haunted by Russell Wilson. But the Broncos did pick up a win in SoFi Stadium last year. And so they no longer have that streak going against them. And we talked about what does a successful season look like before the 2024 regular campaign started. And we talked about those streaks, right? You got to finally beat Las Vegas. Well, you swept the Raiders.
Yep.
I mean, shout out Broncos because I hate the freaking Raiders. Now, you have to split with the Chargers. We talked about that, and this is why it's so critical on Thursday Night Football. I feel like the NFL's in a better place when the Broncos are in the playoffs, right? And obviously, I have a lot of bias there, but it's a historic franchise, and it's really nice to see this NFL in 2024 truly be the league of parity because I'm tired of the same old teams making it in, right? And even when you look in the NFC, it's tightening down. I mean, it's a good playoff race right now. You don't know exactly who's going to make those final few positions. I know you had the Broncos winning. I read your Mile High Roundtable pick over at milehighhuddle.com. I have the Broncos winning as well. Tom, your score wasn't indicative of a blowout, but you're anticipating a pretty close, competitive, dare I say, playoff atmosphere on Thursday night.
Yeah, I mean, this is what it's boiling down to. It's two playoff hopefuls who have solid teams and they're well coached. So I don't see that. I mean, it happens, but I can't predict like a blowout because I think both the teams are, they're going to be out there to win because they want to make sure they punch that ticket. And I don't see a huge mental errors that's going to cause, a couple big touchdown runs or, pick sixes or anything like that to really extend that score. But I'll take a blowout for the Broncos any day, but yeah, it's going to be a bit closer.
No, yeah, it's going to be a close game, and these are meaningful games here in December, and they should be close games. I don't think that these teams, there's not a lot these teams don't know about each other, even though this is Harbaugh's first year with the Chargers. He's got his tells, just like Sean Payton has his tells. Bo Nix obviously has his tells, and so does Justin Herbert. But I think that the NFL, I don't know. I couldn't be more happy that the Broncos are on Thursday Night Football tomorrow night. I know it kind of messes with everybody's schedule and everybody's Christmas shopping and sick and everything else right now. I really don't care, man. This is so exciting. I heard fans walking into the stadium and we debated, man, why would Sean do this? Why would Sean put them on a plane on Wednesday? They're in California as we speak, right? They left today. Hard fought game against the Colts. And I know you and Scott aren't happy about the victory against the Colts because it was ugly, but I don't give a gee.
Unhappy.
I don't give a gee whiz. You both, man, just absolutely overcooking my grits. So here's the thing, man. It's a bummer for the players if it's a loss against the Colts, but because it's a win, I think they're able to carry some of that momentum. What a brutal schedule though, huh, Tom? I mean, to play that game Sunday and then have to do a day of film study, a walkthrough presumably yesterday, and then you hop on the plane. I mean, how do you think the Broncos players are feeling right now? Sure, they're excited for primetime action. You bet they're ready for the playoffs. Are they sore? Are they tired? Yeah. Are they sick? Are they frustrated? Put yourself in that Broncos locker room. What kind of vibes are you getting?
Well, I tell you, I'm sure they're sore. I'm sure they're a bit banged up and tired because they just played, and that's the way football is, man. It's a collision sport, and it's not easy to recover from that. So that's why they don't really care for these Thursday night games. However, this is a different attitude. And I wrote about it. It's an article out now about how they went about changing the philosophy of this permeating losing culture that's been around for a while. They've changed it, and you can tell it's different. You can tell it's different from this team. Even watching on your TV, you can tell it's different. So I imagine in the locker room, it's even more amplified. They feel like they can go out there and win. They don't. It's being tired isn't as tired as it used to be. Being banged up isn't as banged up as they were, 2 years ago, going to the final stretch of the season. There's a lot of mental aspect to this game, and when you're out there believing you can win, things don't hurt as bad. It's a better feeling. So, and I know that the Chargers are probably feeling that way too. They've turned around their season, but I don't know. It's just this young Broncos team that they just seem like they're on a different level mentally than they've been for a very long time.
Well, and I wonder why that is. I mean, you can point to so many different areas, right? But as the most, I don't know, the biggest important most important position in all sports, the quarterback position. Bo hasn't flinched this year, Tom. I'm waiting for him to flinch. Is that bad? I'm waiting for like, and somebody can, you can make the argument, and please do if you feel so. He threw 3 picks. He's got some boneheaded throws. He, happy feet galore. I'm right there with you. I have all those same criticisms. But what Bo doesn't do, he doesn't quit on the bench and look for nail polish. All right. He doesn't roll his eyes. He doesn't get after the defense. He doesn't text the punter when he's drafted saying, "You're never going to punch again. I got this." I think he's authentic. I think he's himself. And I think he's truly earned the trust of this team way back in the offseason, last summer even, and he's carried that momentum. Now, Bo can't do it by himself, and we've seen what that looks like specifically earlier this year when they started, 0-2? Pretty rough. That's on Sean to try to aid and supplement Bo a little bit. But it's been Bo and the babies pretty much, right? I mean, it's the young baby Broncos who are out there doing big things. And we can talk about Devon Vele. We can talk about Chris Abrams-Drain now. I mean, a special teams unit that has finally figured some stuff out since that debacle against the Kansas City Chiefs and that blocked field goal that lost them the game. It's just really exciting to see a culture change start to come full circle here in Denver, Colorado. And a good friend of the show, Kathy Schmidl, Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays to you and your friends, Kathy, and your family. We really, really appreciate you here on MHI. Hi, Luke, Thomas, and Scott. The Chargers don't have a passing game and the Broncos don't have a running game, but they both have good defenses. This is going to be very interesting. 19-17 Broncos. Ooh, low, dare I say, kind of low scoring affair. Neither team breaking 20s. Kathy might be onto something here. We could be in for a, dare I say, a defensive shootout between the Chargers and the Broncos.
Well, I think it's going to be a hard-fought battle, just like Kathy said. It's going to probably be a lower-scoring game. It's not going to be a high-flying offenses, unless the Broncos running game gets going. Then I'm going to say if they can like I said, if they have a 100-yard rusher, they might be putting up some points on the Chargers. But yeah, this is playoff football right now. Both teams are trying to get that playoff position. They both know that they need to get a win or two heading into the postseason. So yeah, it's going to be a hard-fought battle. The thing about it is, I think the Chargers have a okay defense, but they are pretty poor against the run for the most part. So but I said it last week, if the Broncos can't get their running game going against the Colts, I don't know if they can get it going, and they didn't. So I'm still waiting for it to happen. But I think they can, if they, like I said, play that tackle edge, running at that tackle edge. I think they're going to have a better running game than you've seen.
This Chargers defense doesn't scare me, Tom. Look, a lot of people, Chargers defense. Okay, it's more of the Broncos offense quite isn't a finished product yet. We're loading still, if you will. And to be loading amid a playoff run, pretty damn exciting. Remember, this is an LA defense that allows 336 yards per game. Okay, so you're going to get in field goal range. Maybe it is that ugly game that Kathy's talking about, and we're talking about Will Lutz as AFC Special Teams Player of the Week next week, right? He's already won it, I think, twice this season. And why not go for the Triple Crown? And Phil coming back in. Guys, let's face it. The Broncos were down 20-0 last time we played them, and the Chargers adjusted in the second half and held them to 3. Hope the Broncos learned a lesson. Phil, you're on to something here, because this is something where I've been willing to give Vance Joseph his flowers and Sean Payton his flowers. To see Vance Joseph adjust has truly impressed me and continues to impress me, because we all wanted to know what the Broncos' answer would be after Jerry Jeudy had a career game against them on Monday Night Football and the Cleveland Browns came to town. And it's not always as easy as swapping personnel sometimes with a Levi Wallace and a Chris Abrams-Drain. Sometimes it's a combination of things. And I think that's where you're seeing the true strength of this football team. Tom, the Broncos have strength in numbers. And Phil, I think that's something that you're going to see that's just a little bit different in this matchup than in week 4, week 5 here in Denver, when the Chargers came to the Broncos house and beat them. And this is something that I'm going to say it's a must-win game. It drives me crazy when people say this isn't a must-win game. This is a must-win game. You want to get into the playoffs on your own accord, you beat the Chargers in SoFi Stadium starting tomorrow night. The Broncos do have strength in numbers, not only on the defensive side of the ball, but on offense too. Right. I mean, who saw Michael Burton, willing his way into the end zone last week on a very ugly, and that had to be the longest spin move I've ever seen, Tom. I mean, get your stopwatch out, and Michael Burton, athletic, stronger, faster, better looking than I'll ever be. But hell, man, to see the fullbacks and the tight ends, these unsuspecting targets get involved, I don't care how it looks, just get it done.
Yeah, and if they really want to put a stamp on this season, this winning culture that they have so impressively gotten to quickly over a single year, really about a year and a half, they win this game so that they can then look to better their position over the next two games into the playoffs, right? Not this, we're just going to squeak into the playoffs. We get one win and we're in, yay. No, win this week, win tomorrow. Then you got a chance to improve your playoff position. That'll really kind of put a stamp on what I've been saying, that they've been passing these tests recently, winning these games and winning games that they shouldn't, probably winning games ugly, and just winning those tests. I think that would be a great stamp on it.
I completely agree. And have you noticed that the conversations have shifted just a tad from Broncos winning individual awards? And I'm right there with you with Nick Bonito, right? I mean, like, Nick Bonito is firmly in the conversation for Defensive Player of the Year, but Bo Nix, right? Rookie of the Year. What do those odds look like? I don't care. How about that? Yeah. I really don't care. It seems like now the attention from the fan base, from the media, all eyes are on the playoffs. And I think the Broncos are starting to surprise some people. I think that there's some cracks in the armor over there in Chiefs Kingdom. And I'm not going to say that the Chiefs are completely vulnerable to being dethroned, because anytime you have a Pat Mahomes and Andy Reid combination, you're probably destined for good things. But I would venture to say that the Denver Broncos make some teams pretty nervous right now. And it's not because they're an offensive juggernaut, because they're not. And you know what? It's not even that this defense in 2024 is the best defense in the NFL and they're coming for you. No, I saw Derek Wolfe. I don't know if you saw that. Derek Wolfe was going at some fans. They were like, this is better than the 2015 defense.
Oh, geez.
That's the surefire way to like trigger anybody from that 2015 defense. You want to get a response from somebody, that's usually how you do it. Specifically Derek Wolfe, right? A reactive guy. And I'm a reactive guy, so I like Wolfie. And he's been good to me in my dealings with him. But I don't know, man. It just seems like finally you're seeing a team. And I kept waiting to see if somebody would get after Bo last week, somebody on the defensive side of the ball. Yeah. Is somebody going to say, what the hell are you doing? We don't believe in this guy. Put Jarrett Stidham in the game. No, we don't have an Atlanta Falcons situation here, folks, where we're benching our quarterback to go to the rookie. No, it's finally good to get out from underneath that rock where you're starting to see players believe. I feel like Prime, right? You don't believe. Well, no, I think players are starting to believe. They've bought into what Sean's selling. They believe in Bo. And I don't know if you saw Pat Surtain was mic'd up when Nick Bonito scored last week against the Colts, man. That was pretty cool for me to see because I didn't know Pat Surtain's voice could go so high, right? He's like, oh my God. And like it, but to see the best football player in the stadium, Pat Surtain, that excited for his teammates to be like, man, that guy's different. Something's different about him. Yeah. Game recognized game, Tom. And all of a sudden, Nick Bonito's looking kind of familiar.
Well, and to answer your question a little while, they did the exact opposite. The defense went to Bo Nix and said, don't worry, we're going to take care of it for you. Not, what are you doing? And not getting upset like the Russell Wilson, Mike Purcell a few years back. You know.
When
they respect him, they want him to succeed, but they know he's a rookie and they're there for him, and that's respect, right? That's just definitely respect. So I enjoy seeing a team that plays as a team. You know, everybody's together. They have fought this hard through this entire season all together, and they're still doing it. Nobody is getting irritated by some mistakes this year.
Completely agree, Rodney. We need to get at least 2 turnovers against the Chargers to secure this win. I'm going to say it right now. The Broncos, 2.5 sacks and 2 turnovers. They win this football game. I wrote about it in one of my keys to victory at milehighhuddle.com. Not trying to get too far in the future, Tom, because anything can happen, man. These are crazy games that we see in the NFL week in and week out. But I've noticed Broncos country is getting their pens and papers out and they're running through their what if scenarios. And there's one potential game that they keep circling: the Denver Broncos and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Could you imagine that playoff game? And I know the NFL is scripted. It's all a conspiracy. Let's wait to see what the colors are in New Orleans, and those will be the Super Bowl teams. We can have fun with all that. But man, Tom, can you imagine what a playoff game would look like between Russell Wilson and the Steelers with one Bo Nix and the Denver Broncos? Sign me up.
Yeah, that'd be fun. I was actually hoping that it would be the Chiefs in the first round versus the Broncos, but they've lucked into so many wins. I don't think that's going to happen now. But yeah, it would be great to see another Steelers Broncos matchups, because those have always historically been pretty good matchups. Between those two franchises. So that'd be fun. And another the Petty Award was already given to Russell Wilson when he wasn't even playing. So that's all behind them. It's now it's time to go out there and play some playoff football. And I'd love to see the Broncos match up with the Steelers. I think it's a good matchup.
Yeah, well, hey, we'll be able to watch that this Saturday. Apparently, the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Baltimore Ravens are going to play a Saturday game on December 21st at 2:30. So you get to see the Steelers taking on the Ravens in Baltimore. It's a game we'll definitely keep our eye on as well. Who the Bengals got? I'm trying to look up some schedules, because that's interesting too, Tom. I mean, for once in the last, dare I say, 9 years, the Broncos can watch some other AFC games with some vested interest, if you will. And
that's right.
Again, we'll run through it. Zach Kelberman's got an article up right now over at milehighhuddle.com talking about different scenarios. Obviously, the big one, right? The Denver Broncos win tomorrow. They're in. They've officially punched their ticket, right? And they wouldn't be able to go any higher than the 6th seed, right, Tom? Considering that the Baltimore Ravens and the Pittsburgh Steelers each have the tiebreaker over the Broncos with those wins.
Yeah, the Broncos would have to be one game better than the Ravens or the Steelers to jump ahead of them. Yeah,
which could still happen. It's a crazy league, but let's just assume that the Broncos, they can't take care of business. It's a skunk of a game, what have you. A Miami loss or tie gets the Broncos in. A Cincinnati loss or tie gets the Broncos in. And a Colts loss or tie gets the Broncos in. Again, you guys can read about those scenarios over at milehighhuddle.com. C-Chain coming in here saying, go Broncos, beat the Chargers tomorrow. And I appreciate all of your optimism, as well as Broncos country in there. And I see no way came in here, and no way's a Cowboys fan. I just got a sense about it based on some of the chatting here. And it's cool to see Broncos country so excited, man, because you guys deserve it. We deserve this. It's been a long 9 years, Tom, a really long 9 years. Would you believe it if someone would have told you, right? A wizard, a genie, someone looked into their crystal ball after the parade in 2015 and they said, Tom, it's going to be 9 years. It's going to be 9 years of being the butt of the joke of the NFL. It's going to be 9 years of a quarterback carousel, coaching carousel, owners. You're going to get an owner maybe one day, right? I mean, would you believe it if somebody would have told you in 2015 that the Denver freaking Broncos would have been about a decade removed from postseason contention?
No, because one, they still had most of that great defense together. I thought they were going to be able to be dominant on the defense enough to maintain at least another year or two of playoff type football. Their quarterback situation and frankly, their coaching situation really just took a turn for the worst. And that was the end of it, so I would not have believed it. And I still can't believe it. Being a Broncos fan for as long as I have to sit and watch this, consecutive losing streak finally over. It's hard to believe that it ever happened.
Yeah, it's kind of a pinch yourself moment, right? And that's what I say. Like, dude, I don't care that I'm behind in holiday shopping. I don't care that I've been sick with the flu. I don't care about any of that, because this is a fun time right now in Broncos country. And I think people are finally starting to enjoy themselves just a little bit. And Nick's coming in here, maybe enjoying himself a little too much, saying, Luke, we're number 5 playing the Texans and winning. Holy cow, man. Yeah, the Broncos continue to climb up that AFC leaderboard. that would just continue to shock the masses, man. And it's a week by week thing. This is going to be a really hard game, guys. I know it's an AFC West divisional opponent, and I get that the Chargers played on Sunday too, but a short week flying out to Cali. I'm hoping it's a home game. I really do. And traditionally, you're right, Tom. The Chargers away game has always been more of a Broncos home game, and a lot of Broncos country flies out to Cali. A lot of Broncos country lives in Cali, and they're just trying to unearth their orange from the back of their closets, right? They're searching through their dressers. They're looking for orange. They finally got it. And how about this? How many people are excited to get some Broncos gear for Christmas? It's been a long time since people have been able to give some Broncos gear. I know I finally hooked my wife up with the Bo Nix jersey for her birthday a few weeks back, and she's 2-0 with that jersey, Tom. 2-0 right now.
Well, have her wear it on Thursday night.
You're damn right. Yeah, she's going to be sleeping in that thing nonstop so the Broncos can continue their climb. Guys, it's MHI. We are just about wrapping up, and we are finishing up the conversation on the official injury report today. Riley Moss is officially out, as well as Jaleel McLaughlin, running back. Cornerback Pat Surtain was a full go. We're assuming it's going to be a running back by committee if there's a running game at all on Thursday night. But I'm happy that Pat Surtain's a full go. I'm excited to see what Chris Abrams-Drain and Damari Mathis can put together. Should be fireworks out there in SoFi tomorrow night.
Yeah. Now, I'm just going to go old school for 1 second, Luke. I know we're going to wrap this up, but I remember seeing someone in the chat early on asking, has there ever been a time in Broncos history when there were two Defensive Player of the Year candidates? And there was, for sure. 1977, Randy Gradishar, Lyle Alzado split the votes. Harvey Martin won Defensive Player of the Year. Had one of them not been in that running, we would have had another Bronco with a Defensive Player of the Year award.
9 Mile Lyle. That's a name that I have, right? Did I get the nickname right for Lyle Alzado? Wasn't it 9 Mile Lyle?
I don't remember his nickname.
Yeah, because he was like a Loch Ness monster, and I thought he was from New Jersey kind of a thing, right? Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm making that up, but I did think of you last week. Louis Wright was in the house, Tom.
Oh, right.
Louis Wright was in the house at the stadium last Sunday, so I did think about you when they panned over to the Broncos Ring of Famer. Guys, head on over to milehighhuddle.com. Check out Tom's latest. Check out my latest. We've got all of your news, analytics, rumors, potential playoff scenarios. We've got everything and more over at milehighhuddle.com. We'd really appreciate it. If you'd like to reach out to Tom, please do so on X at Thomas Hall NFL. Yours truly at Luke Patterson LP. If you'd like to chat with Scott on what's going on with Michael Penix Jr. and Kirk Cousins, that's at Scout Kennedy as well. And guys, we're going to be off next Wednesday for the Christmas holiday. Want to wish everybody a happy holiday and Merry Christmas, and please be safe celebrating. We appreciate all of you guys very much. So Merry Christmas, man. I'm really, really excited to get to this game because I think Christmas is coming early tomorrow night, folks. I had a feeling about it.
Yeah, I think so too, but you never know. It's one of those AFC West rival games, and it's going to be a hard-fought battle, but I'm looking for the Broncos to put that stamp on the season that they've been doing since the 0-2 start. They've been putting stamps ever since the Ravens lost. Really, they've been putting that another stamp on this season, and this will be the final one that kind of jettisons into the playoffs and puts everybody on watch. So,
and something tells me that you might even see Bo Nix smile tomorrow night after the Broncos win the game, man. So stay tuned. We appreciate you guys very much. Broncos country into SoFi Stadium to punch a playoff ticket. This is the way.
This is the way.